Hey guys, today we are going to make some mashed potatoes without milk. It's a simple everyday recipe that you can actually dress up for Thanksgiving or just day to day. You can make them oil-free or with a vegan butter. It doesn't matter. It comes together super fast. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure out the potatoes. I do about 2.5 pounds. So I like to use Yukon Golds. You can also use russet, but the Yukon Golds are my favorite. So it doesn't really matter what size they are, as long as they equal to about 2.5 pounds. So typically I do leave the skins on, especially weeknight potatoes, just because there's a little more nutrients in them. They are so thin that they just go right into the potatoes and it's hardly even noticeable. For the holidays, I like to peel them just because it presents a little fancier. Okay, so now we are going to cut these, and this is where I try to get them a little more uniform in size. So you can kind of see here that these are all roughly the same size. And then we're going to rinse these and put them in a pan with water, and we'll bring those to a boil. Okay, bring this over. Okay, so now I am going to partially cover that. Once that's to a boil, I'm going to reduce it to more of a simmering boil, and we'll keep it partially covered, and it will cook about 10 to 15 minutes depending on the size of the potato. These should be about 10 minutes. I like to cut them a little bit smaller. Okay, so now it's come to a boil. I'm going to add my bouillon cube. I probably would have added that a little bit earlier, but I forgot, so this is as good a time as any. And now I'm going to reduce the heat and partially cover, and while this is cooking, I am going to get the rest of the ingredients together. So I typically like to pre-measure spices, and I just put them in a bowl so they're ready to go. And then also you can do vegan butter, or you can do a tahini, or you can even do like an olive oil. I like tahini for the everyday because it gives it a really nice silky texture. It's made from ground sesame seeds, and it's one of my favorites. It's quite good, and it's perfect for a whole food plant-based mashed potato. So if you're looking for something a little bit lighter, definitely give the tahini a try. So another thing I like to do while the potatoes are boiling is make gravy, and I have a super easy cashew gravy that comes together in like 10 minutes. It's really fast. So I'll link that recipe below too. Okay, so now we are going to test these, and these are right on perfect. So now I am going to reserve a cup of this water. We'll use that to replace the milk, and I'll just take that and set it aside. It's usually about a half a cup, but it can be up to a cup, so we'll just have that extra just in case. So now I'm going to bring these over. All right, and then we'll transfer these back to the pan. So now I'm going to add in a little bit of the water. I'm going to mash these lightly. And I don't like to use a blender at all with these potatoes. I just use the masher, and then if there's any remaining lumps, I'll use the fork to mash it down. But these actually turn out a little bit better just by doing this. Now I am going to add in some of the water. Add in the butter, the seasonings. And you definitely don't want to overmash, but you want to get the lumps out. I'm at about 3/4 of a cup of water. And then I'm just going to go through with my fork. I like them pretty smooth. Put some pepper in there, and totally optional, but you can put a little dollop of butter right on top. Let that melt into it. Earth Balance is my absolute favorite for butter. Like I said, tahini is a great sub if you don't want to use any butter. But here we go. I'm also going to chop up some fresh parsley, top that, and then I will top this with some gravy at the final part here. And yeah, that's it. Super easy. All right, so let's give this a taste. It's good. I'm going to add just a touch more salt. Potatoes really absorb the salt. Definitely do it to your taste. Get that combined. You could also add some roasted garlic. Sometimes if I'm cooking like during meal prep, I'll throw a whole entire bulb of garlic in the oven and just have that on reserve in the fridge. And mashing them in here is a great way for a nice garlicky potato. You could also just dice them up and get them sauteed and throw them in there too. It just depends what you like. All right. Perfect. And here is my cashew gravy. Put it there. This gravy is so good and so easy. It's just a blender gravy, and it comes together in like 5 minutes on the stove. Super worth it. Okay, so here we are. We got the mashed potatoes, and I did some gravy on here. I hope you like these as much as I do. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.